How does somebody have the confidence to stand on a TED stage and say, I know the best route to world peace? Well, I do know the best route to world peace. So let me share with you over the next few minutes why I've got the confidence and the clarity to tell you all about how we achieve prosperity and peace. But first, let me tell you about when I had no confidence. I'm from a relatively poor part of Liverpool in the UK. I didn't really see much sign of me making it out of Liverpool. But when I was 16, something happened that gave me much more of a sense of futility. I was in the Hillsborough Disaster on April 15th, 1989, where 96 people died at a football match. They died when they went into this tunnel, and on the other side of the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel, there was a crush that killed lots of people. And that event did a number of things for me. It made me realize that life is short, that life can be unfair. More long-term for me, the effect was that it made me think, what's the point? I don't think I'm going to be able to make anything, and it can all end tomorrow. I was sat still for months on a chair of despair. I was on a sofa of apathy. I didn't want to do anything. But then I was incredibly lucky. This woman here, Mary Wilson, was a teacher in my school, and it was an underperforming school with the second worst grades of any school in the UK. But I was a good kid, and when I was 16, I was diligent in turning up to school on time, but after Hillsborough, that ended. And one day, I came in about an hour late, not for the first time, and Mary decided to attack me in the nicest possible way. She grabbed me, she threw me into her office, and she said, "Chris, you're really messing this up." She said, "Chris, you've got a responsibility to the people who died at Hillsborough. You've got a responsibility to this community that you're a talented young man from. But most of all, you've got a responsibility to make the most of your potential. You know that life is short, so you're messing this up." After the lecture, she then told me what I should be doing. She cancelled her lessons at the school, and she sat with me for 2 hours on that morning, and she went through a life plan. The life plan had a number of elements, but the first thing was I had no idea how the world worked. The only time I'd ever been outside of Liverpool was to watch Liverpool play football away. So her first thing was, make sure that you travel the world. Put your life into a context. The second thing that she told me to do, because I had a huge distrust of authority, because of some of the smear campaign after Hillsborough, led to people in the media and from the police covering up who had responsibility for the people who died on that day. So she said, find people that you can trust, who can be your mentors and your role models. And the third thing she told me to do was to find a purpose. And she asked me what I would like to do in my life, and I said, well, I'd like to be a writer. And Mary said, well, Chris, I'm your English teacher. You're not a very good writer. Are you okay being poor? And I wasn't. So she came up with me an alternative plan. And the plan was this: start a business, And I didn't know anybody in my neighborhood who owned a business or was an entrepreneur. Start a business and make so much money that by the time you're 40, you can retire, and then you can write terrible books, and if nobody buys them, who cares? After my last exam, I went traveling with £300 that my father gave me. I went to as many countries as I could. I worked my way around the world. I made friends. I saw what the world was like and how many problems there were. I also saw how many opportunities there were. But I put my life into a context. I did find people to look up to, people who could teach me, role models. And when I got back, I started a business. And that business did quite well. Sending young people to have cultural exchange programs overseas, and something that I just finished enjoying myself. I did quite well. My first business became a second business became a third, and suddenly I'm getting close to 40, where Mary said, I've got to retire and write terrible books. But what happened next was that on May 21st, 2009, my first child was born, Finn. And you're meant to go, at this point, it's a lovely photo. Finn was probably quite a normal child in the sense that all parents should and probably do feel a sense of overwhelming responsibility when for the first time you have that small thing in your arms. For me, I had that, but I had this view of the world that I knew I had to work really hard to make the world better. It was that moment that I realized my primary purpose, and actually my primary purpose is the same as everybody's primary purpose. The primary purpose for all of us is to make the world better. So how am I going to do it? What's the mechanic by which I can make the world better? And that became world merit. How am I going to make the world a better place for my son, for both my sons? How am I going to make the world a better place for all our children? Your purpose, same as mine. It struck me as the most obvious solution to almost all problems is to find talent to solve those problems. It struck me that social mobility, a phrase that I detest because it's a geographer's phrase, it's a term used by bureaucrats to explain how people can move up and down in social classes. I think we should rebrand social mobility to, this is my acronym for it, CUT, C-U-T. I think social mobility is much more scary than anybody here realizes. I think there is a catastrophic underutilization of talent on the planet. We have many, many, many talented young people who never raise their aspirations because of many reasons, but particularly because of confidence. Social mobility, or the catastrophic underutilization of talent, has many factors. For me, the four that I'd like to just highlight very briefly are the first one, the top left, that there is an embedded inequality, that there are, in many countries in the world, or most countries in the world, still traditions that stop women achieving their potential. Any man who thinks that's not true is thoroughly lying to themselves. There are many traditions that stop young people taking roles of leadership, even if they know a better way. Confidence, for me, confidence, and because I had a severe lack of it when I was young, is a disease. It's a very contagious disease that we all have the responsibility to try and cure. Poverty clearly stops a number of ways that people can reach their potential. And the main one being through a lack of education in areas of severe poverty. H.G. Wells said that civilization is in a race between education and catastrophe, and we have to win the race for education. Luckily, when I started to explore how I should contribute best to the world, I realized Mark Zuckerberg had already created world peace. What do I mean by that? Well, I travel the world, and I found that cultural exchange means a couple of things to everybody. Cultural exchange, when you embed yourself in somebody else's culture, means that you, for a fact, know that that person from that other culture is the same as you. They may have different traditions, but they love their parents, mostly. They love their children, mostly. And they all prefer to laugh rather than to cry. We are all the same. Mark Zuckerberg has enabled us to have cultural exchange on a truly global scale. Even somebody from a background like me, who didn't have much money, or a family with not much money, was able to travel the world and get jobs and have a visa regime from the UK that allows me to get access most countries without much hassle. I am a very lucky person to do that. And Mark Zuckerberg and social media means that we can, in the best form of it, share insights, have debates, and communicate across many countries and quickly. So, what did I do? I created a social media platform called World Merit. World Merit has 100,000 members from every single country in the world already, even North Korea. Somebody who escaped North Korea represents them very well from her base in South Korea. Those 100,000 members follow a very simple construct for our organization. We challenge people to take action. Those actions give them points, and those points make them eligible for unique opportunities, hopefully life-changing opportunities. 1 month we said, you've got 30 days to go out and host an event that either showcases merit in your community or highlights inequality. Go out, do it. We had 250 events, my favorite of which was this one. A guy in the middle, Ashutosh Suman, in Nagpur city, decided to gather up 20 of his friends. They made World Merit t-shirts, and they went onto the streets and they collected in one day 5,000 handprints from men that confirmed, with the statement of support next to their handprint, their support for gender equality. In one day. In Iraq, we had a group of people translate everything into Arabic and communicate in a marketplace, and then finally in a factory that was bombed out, a conversation about how to build Iraq's reputation globally through better economy. There was a triathlon in the Philippines. That was random, but the message in that was about health and well-being. If you want to reach your potential, you have to think about your fitness. In Bangladesh, we had a march for street children, getting access to education for street children. Another challenge, go and interview a leader. You've got 1 month to do so, and you have to ask 2 questions. What is the most pivotal moment in your life, and what are you doing to support the next generation? We had 1,500 interviews recorded and submitted just for 500 points. Those points get them opportunities, and our flagship opportunity is a year-long leadership program that they're fighting to be on. We know that the next generation does have the answers, does have a way, when they collaborate and they grow up into leadership positions together, to affect change on a vast scale. So join with me and try and stop this catastrophic underutilization of talent. Be Mary Wilson. Go out, find a 16-year-old in the next few weeks and support them. They need you. Thank you very much.